Hello and welcome to episode 467 of Geektown Radio. I'm your host, Dave, and joining me this week is Darryl. How are you doing?
Well, there, it's great to be back.
Lovely to have you back on. It's been a little while since you've been on because we've been off for a break. What have you been watching in the intervening period?
Okay, so the first thing that struck me in was with that great promise of $3.99, as in the first episode was freely watchable, and that was The Institute.
Yes.
On MGM Plus, which will pop up on your Prime Video listings when you go in there. And it is an adaptation of a Stephen King story. It stars Ben Barnes, Joe Freeman, Simone Miller, Fionn Laird. You will likely recognize Julian Richings,
Yes.
Also known as Death in Supernatural, Mary Louise Parker. And basically, it follows this young man, Luke Ellis. He's quite a bright, exceptional student. He's about to graduate early, and we literally meet him on the day of his last exams. He goes out for pizza with his family, and they're sort of discussing whether or not they'll send him to MIT, obviously because he's a lot younger than a normal graduate, and they were just talking about the ins and outs of that. And his dad almost challenges him and says, "Why should we send you?" And he starts talking very passionately about what he wants to do. And all of a sudden, the sort of pizza dish thing just flies up and hits the ground. And everyone, the rest were like, "Whoa." And he's, "Oh, sorry, come see me." We don't really know what's going on. But then that night is kidnapped from his house. And he wakes up in a copy of his room. And that's when we find out that he has been brought to the Institute.
Yes.
And that is a place for children with powers. They believe he is one of those children, and it's very much put to him that it is best that he cooperate. You see in the first episode, basically, they're not messing around.
Yes.
So, and that's sort of where we get in. While we get the twin story of Ben Barnes' character, Tim Jameson, a former cop who just happens to be on like a road trip, almost pulling a reacher, I would say, just walking from town to town trying to find this place. And he comes into a small town and decides, I forget what he's like, basically he's like a police night watchman who walks around the town at night, unarmed, and just basically checks to make sure nothing's going wrong. He decides to do it, he says, because his grandfather did. And those two stories will become intertwined.
Yes.
Yeah. So I watched the first episode and thought, okay, this is really good. This is really compelling. It's much less horror, much more psychological thriller, because you're very much seeing these kids at the mercies of these adults with absolutely no way. There's no one to talk to. There's no one to appeal to be helped. And it does feel very helpless in spots. The tension just creeps up and up. So I kept on watching. I'm 3 episodes in now. I would definitely recommend it. Except if you can't deal with sort of abuse, especially physical stuff, there is a lot of that, and that can be quite off-putting. So just with that warning, but as a show, definitely worth watching.
Yes. I know a little bit about the show because I have seen, I think, the first 5 episodes of it. So technically, I think I'm actually up to date with it as it goes out at the moment. And I saw them actually a while ago before we went away on holiday because I interviewed a bunch of the cast for it, including Ben and Joe and Mary Louise Parker as well, and the showrunners and the writer. So if you go back a couple of episodes in the feed, there is an interview with the guys involved in the show. Joe Freeman, who's the lead, as you might have guessed by his surname, is the son of Martin Freeman and Amanda Abington. This is basically his first lead role. It's pretty much his first role. He did do a small part in Doctors, as every British actor should, the sadly now dearly departed Doctors. But yeah, this really is his first kind of major role in anything. But I think he does a superb job with it. He's really, really good. Ben Barnes is always great. There are some really good characters in it. It's a really nice, creepy not horror, like you say. It is very much a psychological sort of horror thing rather than blood and guts and gore and stuff. But yeah, it's worth checking out, certainly. There are a few good things on MGM Plus. It's quite a good time to pick it up as well, because the Outlander prequel is about to land on there, I think, next week. And then the new season of Outlander, I think, comes at some point after that. So it's where Outlander is these days. But there's some other reasonable shows on there as well. It's one of those ones that's worth turning on for a few months and binging through a few things. Worth checking out MGM Plus on Prime. I know it's an extra channel, but it's not hugely expensive. So it is worth picking up.
Sort of in other events, I just come back from attending Wixbomb X, that Star Fury event. So it ran from Friday 1st until yesterday, Sunday.
Yes, Witchbomb being Motherland, Fort Salem, and Warrior Nun, isn't it? That one.
Indeed. 2 shows with women and women central stories, pairings, and it is the 3rd event. And as it stands, direct from Sean Harry, who runs staff events, for now it will be the last event. So it was bittersweet. So we headed out to Heathrow, which is where the venue was. It's 3 days of events. Discos every night. We have opening, closing ceremonies. We have fan meet and greets with the guests, as well as photos and autographs and panels. The guests for Motherland for Salem: Taylor Hickson, Amalia Home, Demetria McKinney, S. Hodemoser, Catherine Lowe Hagist, and Arlen Aguayo Stewart. For the Warrior Nun side, we've got Christina Tunteri Young, Lorena Andrea, and Mina Rayad, who joined us for one day.
Right.
And yeah, it's a really fun event. When I went there, I saw a lot of the sort of same faces I've seen the previous 2 in terms of returning attendees. And it's just 3 days of fun. Lots of running around and trying to remember what the schedule is, and just being treated to seeing more of the guests and actors and hearing a lot more from them, because we have strict rules around there's no recording. So the guests feel more liberty to sort of share. And we had everything from an amazing musical performance featuring kazoos to original music, finding out lots of embarrassing stories from behind the sets about celebs. And yeah, it was just a really fun event. Again, it is a shame that this is the last one for that. There are a number of Starfleet events that run for the year. So for instance, next year they will have Ascension, which is a Stargate-related event with stars from the various Stargate franchises. They have one for Shadow and Bone, which features their ones. There is also a Bridgerton event, a supernatural event. So obviously Starfleet events continue on. It's just that this particular installment, and this happens from time to time when we go from certain series stock and others come in, because I remember they used to have a Lucifer centered event that they don't currently.
Yeah, there is one for Outlander, Hannibal as well. They do one for that. And Once Upon a Time.
I was just about to mention the Once Upon a Time one. Yeah, they do that one as well.
Yeah. And there's a Doctor Who one, and Star Trek and Star Wars. Those fandoms have been around for decades. That's hardly unsurprising. But they do a lot of these sort of like fan-focused events, Star Fury, and they seem to be very well run, those. And given that a lot of the conventions were struggling over the last couple of years, there was a number of them that have folded and were having difficulty. I'm glad to see Star Fury are managing to keep their sort of unique event stuff still going, which is nice. And they're still getting good guests as well. If you are interested in a particular show, the Star Fury ones are quite good ones to go for, I think.
Agreed, definitely.
Yeah.
Other than that, it seems I'm doing nothing but leaving my house, which is strange for me. I also went to see Superman.
Yay!
I tried to grab the tickets and get that book. So off I went to see James Gunn's adaptation of Big Blue.
Yes.
And obviously Superman comes with a pretty amazing and extended cast. So we have David Cornsworth, Rachel Brosnahan, we've got Nicholas Hoult, Alan Tudyk, we have Bradley Cooper and Anders Serafian pop up, as well as Maria Gabriela de Furia, Sarah Sampaio, and many others.
Yes. Nathan Fillion is also in there.
Of course, Nathan.
Andrew Carrigan,
Isabel Mercer.
Edie Gathigi, I think his name is. The placement.
Yes, I was surprised and very entertained. It's a great take, and it's almost a great framework of how to run a superhero film, which is they didn't do the origins.
Mm-hmm.
They got straight into it. The world knew who he was and what he was capable of. And we just came along on that journey. And I think it was a lot of fun. But it felt pretty short. It felt like it was always moving forward. I just came out of it thinking, okay, this could work.
Yes, I haven't seen Superman yet. I haven't managed to get to the cinema to see that. It is on my list of things to go and see. But the box office certainly, I think, has actually been beating Marvel. And there is a Marvel film out over the same period, which I will talk about in a little bit. But it does look like DC are actually going to top Marvel this year in terms of box office, which is...
the first time it happened like 15 years or something.
Yeah, basically since the MCU came out. So pretty much, I mean, that's fantastic news. And the reaction generally to the film seems to have been very positive. There's a lot of people praising the performances and how it's put together, and it does seem to have done what it needed to do, which was be a solid platform and launch for this new DCU, which I'm really happy about, and I'm glad James Gunn has managed to pull it off. That's really good news. I am looking forward to going to try and see that at some point.
Yeah. I was quite surprised because the last time I saw a chorus threat was on Twister.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, thoroughly engaging as Superman, very believable. Definitely has that thing that keeps you interested and recognize him instantly as a good guy and a hero.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rachel Brosnahan as Lois as well. I adore her in Mrs. Maisel. And I did the moment then after I was like, yes, that'll work. Because she's entirely the right sort of mold for that, I think. How was Nicholas Hoult as Lex?
Oh my God. Well, Lex is that special kind of hater.
Right.
There's that man who is not about your success. Just has his whole life centered in on that. DC fans will know Reverse Flash as probably being the ultimate hater or in terms of supervillains, but Lex is coming in at a close second when you see him throughout the movie. The only thing is that you only see him as talking about Superman. You don't see him as the fantastically successful person he is. It is all about Superman. But yeah, he does great stuff.
Good. I'm glad he's managed to pull that off. He's a solid actor.
And honestly, the press tour have been hilarious. I have fought quite a bit of it. Those three are menace together.
Good. I'm so glad. I haven't seen much of the press stuff for it, but yes.
It is worth hitting some of them because it is just interacting very well.
All right. I will go and look up some YouTube videos of that.
But yeah, so definitely go watch that as well. What else are we up to? Okay, something very different. K-pop Demon Hunters, available through Netflix. Yes, I hear you giggle, Dave. I hear it.
Yes.
But K-pop is a thing. Has been ever since Psy took over the world. And so if you maybe didn't know that much about K-pop or wanted to take a quick look, I think this could be a good introduction. So in K-pop Demon Hunters, we follow the biggest K-pop group in the world, but they are also demon hunters.
Of course.
In their time, or that's a perfectly reasonable idea, is what I'd like to say. And so we join them as they're launching their brand new song. And we learn that the reason for them being a K-pop star is that through their music, they motivate people and put out good vibes. And that vibe and that positivity forms a shield around the living world, which can keep out demons, or at least lessen demon attacks. And so we see that their major thing is that they're trying to make what they call the golden hormone, and that will completely cut off the underworld from the living world and keep everyone safe. And we follow along with that journey. And it has all the sort of central tenets of K-pop and the crazy fans. The song's amazing, and it's just a really fun ride. It's a very fun show, and I can see how I might be talking to people out there and think, I don't know if this would be for me. I would say just watch the first 15 minutes, and I think you'll stick around for sure.
Yeah, for an animated series, I've seen more ridiculous premises.
Dave, you were like Supernatural, which has a whole thing where there's a High School Musical based around their lives.
Yes, exactly. So, sure, K-pop demon hunters, why not?
Okay, and I was going to say that Netflix already talked about a spin-off and a trilogy. So 2 more.
Oh, wow.
In rapid succession. And it was number 1 for quite some time as well. So I think it definitely exceeded what they were expecting.
Excellent.
And come up and make some announcements.
Yes. So that is a film out on Netflix if you want to go and check that out.
Indeed. Last one from me is We Were Liars.
Yes.
Is based on a book. Name of the person has escaped me, but it's a YA novel.
E. Lockhart is the person.
It follows a 17-year-old who survived a horrible accident at her family's summer home, returns, trying to pick up pieces of her life and figure out what happened on that painful night. We have in this cast Emily Allen Lint, Caitlin Fitzgerald, Mami Gamma, Candice King, Arakul colleague, Shubhan Maheshwari, Esther McGregor, another last name you might recognize, Joseph Zada, David Norse. And it is a very interesting story. Don't be put off because it is about a bunch of rich people. They are not the most pleasant bunch of people you've ever met. In fact, they're quite insufferable. But the story itself, it just keeps you coming back because you have this teenager, and for all their faults, is a person who has been a mess for a couple of years and is trying to figure out what happened, and no one wants to answer her. And we follow the story, and episode by episode, we find out a little bit more and a little bit more, and you will not have guessed what it is by the end. It will come as a complete shock, but it will make sense. It's just a hell of a journey.
I know Prime have been pushing this quite hard because there have been like press releases going through for it and all that sort of stuff, and I've seen it advertised all over the place. It's from Julie Plec, is co-developer and co-showrunner on it, who is, of course, the person behind The Vampire Diaries and all its spin-offs. And
yes, nothing like that. Don't let that put you off, which I think is a very different story and a very different genre.
Yeah, the other person involved is Karina Adley McKenzie, who was screenwriter for Roswell, New Mexico as well, and also worked on the originals and The Flash. I think she wrote an episode of as well, according to this, but Roswell, New Mexico is the big thing. She did a lot of episodes of the originals as well. So that's obviously how the two of them know each other, and they teamed up together on this. Yeah, I mean, YA thing, so there is that, but like you say, very different sort of show, no vampires in sight.
And it is a psychological thriller, not just about relationships and that sort of thing. But yes, it is quite right. It does get very intense. And as I said, the ending is quite a surprise.
Interesting.
It is a one and done due to the story.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask. It's one of those things because YA things seem to struggle a little bit on Prime. Some of the YA stuff, particularly the more sort of thrillery kind of side of things. The comic book stuff, I think, has a more broader appeal, but the straight sort of YA thriller drama kind of things, from memory, they've tried a few of them and they've not made it past one season. So having a self-contained story for this is probably quite a good idea.
Yeah, I think the last one I could think of was probably Panic, which had a thriller, which would bit thriller, but probably more your normal sort of YA. I know that was only a season, and they definitely invested a lot in that.
It's one of those things where they're not necessarily bad shows. It's just they're not finding the audience necessarily on Prime. Yeah, that could be one worth checking out, certainly, I think. So for me, Fire Country came back for its third season, finally, as we talked about before. Sky had originally planned to put this out in January, February, and then LA set itself on fire. And even though this is all in Northern California, they decided that it was maybe not a good idea to put a show about California being on fire on air at the same time. It didn't seem to make much difference to CBS. They were airing it. That's what Sky decided. They bumped it. So that's finally come back, and we're in an interesting situation for this series because it's the first one where Brody is actually out of the fire camp. So they open in a fairly spectacular style with a helicopter crash, which crashes into the wedding, which, if you remember, at the end of season 2 was happening. And I think that was a good solid opener. If you're into Fire Country, if you liked it before, I think this is a solid continuation of that. So yeah, that's running now on Sky Witness. Worth going to check that out. The next one I picked up is called Chief of War, which is a miniseries for Apple TV, and it is a telling of the unification of the Hawaiian Islands from the indigenous perspective. A Hawaiian war chief joins a bloody campaign to unite the warring islands in order to save them from the threat of colonization. Is the basic setup for it. I've watched the opening episode of this. It is from Jason Momoa and stars Jason Momoa. He co-created it, he stars in it, he exec produces it, he's written some of the episodes as well. He's heavily involved in it. It is almost entirely a Polynesian cast. There are a few other people that you might recognize, such as Tamura Morrison. Django Fett himself is in there. Lucina Buchanan as well is in there. You might know from something like The Night Agent. So yeah, it's a really good cast. You will be watching it with subtitles because the first episode, I haven't watched the second episode yet, but the first episode is entirely in Hawaiian. It's not like you even really have much of a choice. And apart from the small percentage of the population that are native Hawaiian speakers, which I mean, even in Hawaii, there aren't that many of them. You will be watching with subtitles on this, just bear in mind. It's beautifully, beautifully shot. It looks absolutely stunning. It is quite a sort of interesting story, very much based on historical fact. You're introduced to Jason Momoa's character, who is the chief of war, really, that we're talking about, although at the point that we meet him, he isn't a chief. Essentially, he was part of one of the other chiefs' armies and had gone AWOL and sought refuge on one of the other islands, and then gets called back because they believe they're about to be invaded and they want his help. And he's very reluctant to go back because the leader, played by Tamura Morrison, is not particularly nice guy. I think it's probably fair to say, and it doesn't like the way that he operates, but he's convinced to go back, and that's where we find him in the opening. It's a really interesting start to that show, and I will go and watch some more of it. There are 2 episodes up at the moment, but yeah, it's a part of history that I know obviously nothing about, because why would I? It's about the unification of Hawaii, but they've done an absolutely stunning job with it. It feels Shogun-esque in the sort of vibe of it. The one thing it is missing is that English-speaking character that sort of Shogun has to draw you through it from that sort of outsider's perspective. But I still think they handle the story pretty well, and the characters are interesting. It's very well shot. There's quite a lot of action in that opening episode as well. There's sort of some battles and stuff, and yeah, it is very well done. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. It is a limited series. It will be a sort of one and done thing. It feels like it is partly done for awards, this one as well. But yeah, it's certainly, if you're a Jason Momoa fan, you get to see an awful lot of Jason Momoa in this.
I've seen the pictures.
Yes, if you've seen any of the trailers, they don't wear an awful lot. Those early Hawaiian warriors. So if you like Jason Momoa, you'll probably quite like this. It's called Chief of War. It's available on Apple TV now. I tell you haven't actually looked at this yet.
I have not. No, I haven't seen it.
No. Okay. So there's that. Going back a little bit, I have just a little bit. I have started to work my way through Scandal, which is really one of the sort of earlier Shonda Rhimes, Shondaland shows. I know everybody had been telling me this is a great show and you should go watch it. And I just hadn't quite got around to it. And a friend of mine was watching it. Oh, maybe I'll go and pick it up. I completely got hooked on the first season, which is actually only 7 episodes. The rest of it, it's anywhere from 16 to like 22 episodes, but the first season is only 7.
Very much a US summer show.
Yeah.
Season before it just caught fire.
Yeah. If you are unaware of Scandal or haven't picked it up, stars Kerry Washington as Olivia Pope, and she runs this firm, which is very much not a law firm, although they are mostly lawyers that are involved in that. And she's essentially a fixer. So she's previously worked for the president. She has now stepped away from that role, set up her own firm, and is fixing things for people in Washington, in and around Washington, essentially. The main plot for the first season evolves around Amanda Tanner, who is played by Liza Wheel, who you'll know from things like Gilmore Girls and was also in How to Get Away with Murder, another Shondaland show. And she is an intern at the White House who has apparently, according to her, had a relationship with the president. And Olivia is then pulled back into the world of the White House to deal with that, and having a fairly fractious relationship with some of the people involved in the White House, and also a relationship with the president. So there's quite a lot going on with that. It's really well done. And I very much enjoyed the first season, got me very hooked. I'm a few episodes into season 2 now, and continues to be great. There's 7 seasons of it and quite a lot of episodes, so it's going to take me a while to get through, but I am on the train at this point, so it's one of those ones that I'm going to keep running in the background while new stuff comes out and I start to catch up with things. But yes, definitely will be continue with Scandal. Did you see this when it came out or pick it up later? Or?
When it came out, I remember it was amazing, that first season. Obviously, as it goes on, it gets more and more unhinged. But that first season is tight, it's very sort of topical, and yeah, it's just this really great show that came out the summer, which, to be fair, I think is when a lot of the real gems come out, because that's the equivalent of a network taking a gamble to some shows. Whereas the ones that come out during the normal season tend to be fairly stable, tend to be, I know exactly what will happen, and it's more a case of whether or not you happen to like the actors. Whereas they take swings in summer, and yes, definitely a swing.
Yeah, but landed really well. And like I say, from the season 2 onwards, they're up to 16, 22 episode seasons. They obviously landed incredibly well for them and is a really solid show. Very enjoyable. There are similarities to How to Get Away with Murder, I think, although I would say that the characters in this, certainly at the moment, are far more likable than How to Get Away with Murder, which was full of really awful, unlikable people by the end of it. Yeah, certainly enjoyable. Worth going to check out. Scandal is available all 7 seasons on Channel 4 streaming, and you can go and find it if you search on your Sky box as well. It is available there. You can also go and buy it, of course.
It's on Disney.
I think it's only one season that's on Disney Plus. I don't think the rest of it is. Whether the rest of it will move across there at some point, I don't know. But one season I think is on Disney at the moment. But all 7 seasons right now are upon 4. So you can go and stream it there for free, basically, or free with ads if you want to go and stream it. Back to the new shows and Countdown, not to be confused with the long-running popular Channel 4 game show, the American TV drama series, which stars Jensen Ackles of Supernatural. And the rest of the cast is, that's so-and-so from such. It's Jessica Camacho, who was in things like Sleepy Hollow and All Rise. You've got Violet Bean. Yeah, and was in The Flash as well. Violet Bean, also in The Flash, and was in God Friended Me. Elliot Knight, who was in Sinbad, I think, and has been in a number of other different shows. And you've got Eric Dane in there as well, who was on The Last Ship, and I think was Grey's Anatomy, and he's been in a whole bunch of different stuff as well.
Ad Boy, Bide or Die as well.
Yes, there's quite a lot of sort of faces that pop up and you go, oh, yeah. Jonathan Togo as well, who was in CSI Miami, pops up. So there's a lot of faces that you spot and go, oh, yeah, I know them from something. There are, I think, 8 episodes. It's a 13-episode run, which is quite a long run for a streaming.
It is a very long run.
For a streaming. Yeah. The basic premise for it is there is a Department of Homeland Security officer who is killed at the very opening, obviously.
A very familiar face.
It is a very familiar face, yes. It's one of those things where I don't remember him being in it. Oh, that's why. So, yes, there is a very familiar face who is killed at the opening sequence of it. And Jensen Ackles plays an LAPD detective called Mark Meacham, who is then brought into this covert task force of undercover agents. He's actually undercover himself at the time when he gets picked up. He's in a prison. And they bring this group from various different agencies. So there's somebody from the LAPD, there's somebody from the DEA, somebody from the FBI, and they bring them all together to create this fairly secretive task force, as it is apparent that because it was a Homeland Security officer that is killed, that maybe it was an inside job and they don't know who they can trust. So Eric Dane, who runs the unit, his character is called Nathan, and he's trying to keep it under the radar, essentially. But it feels very much like a sort of network show to me.
24.
Yes, there's a sort of elements of 24 to it. It feels quite sort of networky. I would argue that it doesn't necessarily, certainly in the initial opening episode, have that hook. 24 had the clock timer thing. Quite often with these shows, there will be a particular hook that there is a thing or a widget that they've got to particularly get to, or there's something in the structure of the show designed to hook you in. And I think possibly the hook is the cast.
I feel like that hook is Jensen Ackles.
Yeah.
That's what they're watching.
That is basically my fault as well, was the hook is really the cast. Jensen Ackles although it is very much a sort of ensemble thing, although he is arguably the sort of higher level of lead, it really is very ensemble.
Yeah, that's what one things I really like about it.
Yeah. So although he is in there and he's on screen quite a lot, it isn't just about him. It is very much an ensemble piece. But yeah, it doesn't have that kind of unique hook to it. It's very good and it's thoroughly enjoyable. I've only watched the first few episodes of it. I haven't got any further. I know you've seen this. Have you got any further with it?
Up to date, I think.
Okay. Yeah, 8 episodes, I think, so far.
But yeah, it definitely takes a little while to get going. But again, because you go, oh, I know who that person is, or I know who that person is, you're happy to wait around while it does. And then it does catch fire around about episode 4, when you really know what sort of the stakes are. And so on Ensemble-cast, there's lots of things going. So, for instance, there's pushback from the mayor because it's a task force in LA, but he doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't like what's happening. We've got, although we only get the idea of 2 of them, these members of the task force are sort of like renegades or almost ostracized at their own places.
Yes.
Get some ideas about why that might be in a couple of cases. And so we're seeing that. And yeah, we're just getting to know all of them slowly while moving the point along and seeing this real police work. Because you see them chasing up leads and doing that sort of thing. I think it's handled pretty well. The creator, showrunner is Derek Haas, who was literally like the uncle of network TV because he runs all the Chicagos. So that's where you get that network feel from. And yeah, very interested to watch it through to the end. It seems to be doing pretty well in the Amazon ratings in terms of people watching. But yeah.
Certainly. So it's called Countdown. It is on Prime Video right now. There are 8 episodes in. There are 13 episodes in the first season. It is worth going to check out. It is quite enjoyable. Certainly if you like those sort of quite big, explosive network style dramas, you're going to like this, I think. Derek Haas actually has written the entire thing as well. It's not one that's got passed around from like a room full of writers. He was the sole writer and showrunner and creator of this. Yeah. So yeah, worth checking that out. It is available right now. One other thing that I did see was a movie, which was Fantastic Four First Steps, which is, of course, the other big film, which is out this week, the other big superhero film. It's not doing quite as well as Superman, but I still really rather enjoyed it. This is, of course, introducing Marvel's first family for the first time to the MCU. It's Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss-Baccarin, Joseph Quinn as the main leads in it. And it would pretty much the focal characters, obviously, of the entire thing. I think Pedro Pascal is really likable as Reed Richards. I'm interested to see more of him. I think Vanessa Kirby works well as Sue Storm. They're back and forth between Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm and Ebon and Joseph. I think he's really good. There's some nice banter between the pair of them. I think it's all kind of cast and works reasonably well as a bunch of characters. The main story, not giving anything away if you've seen the trailer, is based around them dealing with Galactus. But it does take a while for that actually to happen. Quite a lot of it is world building and scene setting. You are set up on Earth 828, which is not the main MCU Earth. It's one of the multiverse Earths. And they don't do the background story. It's, as you said, with Superman, they don't go and do it, Krypton exploding. They don't do them going into space and getting their powers. We're about 4 years on from that, I think, when we opened the movie. And they are set up as the protectors of Earth. It's all nicely introduced in a sort of 10-minute segment for a sort of TV show that they do for this, which is hosted by Gareth. It does take a while for you to actually really get to the Galactus stuff. I think it's perfectly fine and a perfectly decent film. I enjoyed it. It doesn't quite go far enough for me. I was expecting them, even if they were doing it in a post-credit scene, to hook it back into the main MCU somehow. But at the moment, it is very much a separate sort of thing. You know how they do with the Captain America thing, which, you know, when that movie came out, it ends with it being hooked into the main sort of MCU timeline. And admittedly, that was on the same Earth, but it was set in the past, but they hooked it into sort of present day MCU Earth. And I was expecting them to do that with this, and it doesn't.
I see the point, but I'm sure you talked about it already. But when Kevin Feige went in his press blitz, he's made it clear that he's not going to do the connecting things as much. And to be fair, it does often get them in trouble. So I think we'll just leave it for now and see what they do when we get our next taste of Marvel.
Yeah, we do know that it does connect somewhere along the way because of the fact that it ends with a card that says they will return in Avengers Doomsday, and we know Avengers Doomsday is going to involve Doom, and we are presuming that Doom probably comes from this Earth, which would make sense because we also know that it's Robert Downey Jr. playing the role, and that would give them a reason to use Robert Downey Jr.'s face for that if he comes from a different Earth. So that's the assumption with it. And we know that there are going to be multiverse things going on as we build to those new Avengers movies. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And it's now a sort of separate thing, much to a certain extent. Deadpool and Wolverine was a separate thing.
Yeah. I don't think it's more of a separate thing. I think it's more just if you put in a thing pointing into something, all you're ever going to do is wait for that thing. The fact that there might be 2 or 3 films before that. So I think it's probably for the best. And honestly, I think if this had not been put up a week after Superman, it would be much more greatly expected. Unfortunately, they are very similar in their approaches. And so everybody is directly comparing them. And I think in this case, it's like there is no comparison because it's Superman. Everyone knows who Superman is. Yeah. While Fantastic Four is big, especially among comic nerds, it's nowhere near the enduring appeal or the 10,001 TV adaptations that Superman has. It's not in the zeitgeist as much as the thing is, and it was never going to win.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely true. As I say, it's not done badly at the box office. Its worldwide box office about 370 million so far. And so it made more than what the film's budget was. But I don't think it's necessarily making as much. I think there was quite a big drop off for the second week. So
yeah there was.
It's maybe not doing as well as they potentially hoped it would. And I think, like you say, part of that is timing and the fact that you've got 2 essentially hopeful themed, because the world that they are living in is much more, I have to say the production design is beautiful. It's this interesting kind of retro style to it. And it's very much this sort of hopeful kind of world that you're in, rather than the sort of grim stuff that we've been dealing with, particularly in the old DCEU stuff. And Superman was very much a pivot away from that into a more kind of hopeful sort of thing. And this is also the same. Yeah, I think it's a perfectly decent, well-made film. And I've certainly enjoyed it. I can't directly compare it to Superman because I haven't seen it yet. I had a choice of going to see one or the other, and I decided I'd go and see Fantastic Four, as that was the newer one that came out. I do want to still see Superman as well. But yeah, there's no reason you can't necessarily go and see both. Go and spend the afternoon and evening in a cinema. Go and watch both. Why not? That's all the stuff we've been doing this week. Well, let's move on to some TV and film news. So we kick off the TV and film news with the renewals, cancellations, and pickups. We have cancellation at Netflix, of course. FUBAR, the Arnold Schwarzenegger TV show, that has been cancelled apparently after 2 seasons. So
I will just settle on that because that is crazy. Because with obviously FUBAR has Arnold at the front. When FUBAR came out, literally that whole year was dedicated to Arnold. They had the Netflix Arnold documentary as well, go through that. And then just to see it fall off and get cancelled in the very next season is a shame. From what I've heard from people, the first season was great. It was really fun and enjoyable. I don't think the second season did as well. And I don't know what's happening here because this seems to be the same thing that happened to The Recruit.
Yes.
Whereas the first season, they had this amazing, fresh new story, and then they forgot everything in the second season. In this case, I'm talking about The Recruit, it's like night and day.
Yes.
Between those 2 seasons. I'm a little worried, especially when you look at, you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger, Monica Barbara. Those are a huge star of the past and a huge current star. So I start wondering what the issue is, because I don't think it's a cast or a premise. There's something going wrong that they can't stick these second seasons.
Yeah, it is a bit concerning because I loved the first season of The Recruit, couldn't get through the second season. And then they cancelled it before I went back to it. There's no point now. I haven't seen any of FUBAR, so I can't comment on it. But yeah, it is worrying that they can't seem to do that and they're struggling with their second season. Another problem to add to Netflix's pile of problems of cancelling things after 1 season as well. Yes. And just like that, which was the Sex and the City spin-off or continuation thing, is apparently to end with its 3rd season, which is currently actually airing on both sides of the Atlantic. Okay. Sky Comedy here and HBO Max, I think, in the US, or HBO in the US, I'm not sure. But it's going to end with this 3rd season. That apparently was a decision that they made before they started making it. They decided that was an endpoint. It isn't really a cancellation. They have got a 2-part series finale. They just didn't announce it earlier that it was ending because they didn't want all the promotion to be, it's our final season. For whatever reason, they didn't want that to be the focus of it. They are, I think, halfway through, maybe slightly over halfway through, but they have said that it is going to have a 2-part finale and it is coming to an end with this season. And over on the BBC, they've cancelled Dope Girls after 1 season, apparently, as well. So that has gone. Renewals, Gilded Age renewed for a 4th season by HBO, which doesn't really come as a huge surprise. I think that's been doing quite well for them.
Yeah, I hear there's one of those ones I constantly hear about people really good. Where's it going back? Where's it going back? We need a renewal decision. So it does seem to be like universally loved, that show.
Yes, that is coming back for season 4. One slightly surprising one, Untamed, which starred Eric Bana. That was on Netflix. That has been renewed for a 2nd season, even though I think it was originally billed as a limited series.
Yeah.
Yes, so that is coming back for a 2nd season, even though it wasn't supposed to. So yes, there's a strange renewal from Netflix, although it's not the first time they've done something like that. So if something does incredibly well for them, they renew it, or if they can. So yes,
it's very Scandi noir coded, and that is the go-to for Netflix. So it's not surprising that they, I don't know, maybe offered more money or something and got Eric Bana to return.
Yes, that will be coming back for another season. I think isn't he a park ranger or something in Perth? I think it is.
He's like a federal parks agent, and he'll be at a new park for the new season. That's something that they talked about when they confirmed the renewal.
Yes. Yeah, that's Untamed coming back. Another show which is coming back, according to one of the actors in it anyway, is Line of Duty, which officially this hasn't been confirmed by the BBC, but Adrian Dunbar, who has his show Ridley, which is coming back on ITV later this week, he was doing press, and of course somebody in the press interviews brought up the subject of Line of Duty, and he was like, oh, it's definitely coming back sometime next year. We're waiting for the BBC to announce it. I know Jed's writing it, and Martin and Vicky are really keen. So, yeah.
And 1,000 publicists threw their hands up and screamed.
Yes, and his phone started ringing, got a very angry call from the BBC press office, I imagine. But he was talking to the Telegraph, and that was basically what he said. He plays the Superintendent Ted Hastings, if you're trying to place the face to the name. But we talked about this before because one of the other actors mentioned that she'd been approached about availability. We knew that there was certainly talk about it, but it sounds like it is moving forward, and we're just waiting for the BBC to officially announce that they're doing it. But yeah, it sounds like we are getting more Line of Duty, which is no bad thing because I didn't like where they ended it. I wasn't a huge fan of how they concluded that final season. I'll be interested to see how Jed Mercurio manages to write himself out of that corner. But I love that show. It was such good fun, and it just didn't have a particularly satisfying conclusion. So I think another season would do it some good. It would be great to have that back. Apple have set a premiere date for Down Cemetery Road, which, if you've not heard about this, we have mentioned it a few times on the podcast, but it's based on Mick Herron's other book series. He's the guy behind Slow Horses. This is the Zoe Bonham book series. It stars Emma Thompson, who you'll know from a million different things, as Oxford private investigator Zoe Bonham, alongside Ruth Wilson, who, of course, was in Luther and His Dark Materials, Sarah Tucker, a neighbour drawn into a mystery that quickly spirals out of control. When a house explodes in a quiet Oxford suburb and a girl disappears in the chaos, Sarah, played by Wilson, comes obsessed with uncovering the truth. She enlists Zoe, played by Thompson, struggling private investigator, to help find the missing child. Their search soon pulls them into a complex conspiracy where people long thought dead are still alive and the living are in growing danger. It's got some of the people that were involved in Slow Horses behind it as well. So if you like Slow Horses, this is definitely going to be one to check out. And who doesn't like Slow Horses? It's a fantastic show. Slow Horses has, of course, as mentioned, I think last week, been renewed through to season 7. Its 5th season premieres on September 24th. This is going out on the 29th of October. So my guess is they're going to run the 5th season of Slow Horses straight into Down Cemetery Road and run them back to back. I suspect that's probably where they're going with this. I haven't done an exact count on the episodes, but it sounds about right. That's probably what they're doing. I rather like the sound of this, and Emma Thompson's great. It's nice to see her in the lead in a TV series as well. Have you watched any of Slow Horses?
I haven't.
Definitely one of the ones that's worth picking up on Apple TV. It's worth getting Apple TV purely for Slow Horses. There's lots of good stuff on there, like Chief of War, for example, but it is worth picking up even if you're just going to watch Slow Horses. It's worth putting up for a few months. Over on Channel 4, they dropped a first look clip of Mitchell and Webb Are Not Helping, which is the official name for their new sketch comedy series, which we mentioned a while back. They were coming back to do a new sketch comedy series. It's 6 episodes. It's Mitchell and Webb back together doing sketch comedy. It's got a few people involved as well who are either upcoming talent or some established people, like Killian Smith Bino, who was the partner in the UK version of Ghosts. He was the male of the couple. Laura Riccoti, who you may have seen on things like Live at the Apollo, Stevie Martin, who was in Starstruck and Breeders, and Crystal Evans, who has been in things like Scott Squad and Comedy Underground, alongside a team of established and emerging comedy writers. So it's a sort of solid mix of older and new talent. The clip that they released online is really funny. It's the very overzealous airport security officers dealing with a very flustered passenger played by David Mitchell. And as somebody who has just come through those security security things back from holiday. I really rather felt that clip. It's really funny and really good, sort of shouting things like Trey at them all the time, and that when you get to the security checkpoint. So a really fun clip. You can find it up on YouTube and it's on the website as well. We don't know exactly when that's coming. It is coming in the autumn at some point, yes. Worth going to check that out. They've announced the writer of the new James Bond film as well, and it is going to be the great Stephen Knight, him of Peaky Blinders fame, and he also wrote Taboo and SAS Rogue Heroes and 1,000 Blows and a million other things. C with Jason Momoa, of course, was one of his shows, although he didn't do the later seasons, but he did the first season of that. He is going to be the writer of it, and it's going to be directed by Denis Villeneuve of Dune fame. So that's the team that are going to be behind it. We don't know who's going to be playing Bond yet, of course. That's not being confirmed. There are bookies' names floating around at the moment. Aaron Taylor-Johnson has been named floating around. Callum Turner from Masters of the Air. Henry Cavill, of course. Jack Lemmon from Slow Horses. James Norton from Happy Valley and a million other things. And Theo James is the other name that it keeps on popping up. I mean, what usually happens is these names are floated around attached to it, and then it's none of them. It's somebody slightly left of field. Of course, with Bond this time around, it is the first time that he's not under the control of the Broccoli family. It is now directly under the control of Amazon, because they did a huge deal with Amazon MGM Studios to basically hand over control of Bond directly to them, and they took a back seat. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Stephen Knight is a fantastic writer. Denis Villeneuve is a perfectly fine director. Does rather come across as they're going to go for something which is maybe slightly more grounded. We're not going back to Brosnan kind of Bond. It's probably going to be a more grounded kind of Bond again. But whoever takes on the 007 mantle, I think that's a solid team behind them. Any thoughts on Bond?
I think it's good. I think Stephen sounds like a great choice, to be honest. I don't know about Denis Villeneuve directing, but then I haven't seen much of what he's done. See, it's a strange one, but I'm eager to see. I just wish they would just pick one and move on, man. It's been years we've been talking about this with new Bonders, and I'm sure someone knows and has known for a while. I think that's when we can start taking a look at it. I'll probably watch the first thing. I'll probably go to cinema to see it. But the speculation thing is it's getting boring now.
Yes. Yeah. I do wish they would just, like you say, pick a Bond at this point. Of course, he's still tied up with Dune Part 3 for the moment. So they've got a bit of time for Stephen to actually write the movie first and actually pick a Bond. But so you're looking at probably 2028 before we actually get a new Bond film at the very earliest, I would have thought. But looking through his sort of back catalogue, he did do Sicario, which was quite a sort of gritty explosions and that sort of thing. He's been a bit more sci-fi since then because he's done sort of Blade Runner, Arrival, Dune. But he has got some of that more grounded stuff in his back catalogue as well. So we'll see. And lastly, there was an interesting new show that's being developed for Hulu in the US based on a movie called Stay Tuned. Don't know whether you've ever seen this film. I actually have, but you're going back a bit for that movie, Stay Tuned.
Have a look. It sounds vaguely familiar, but I've just heard of it, not necessarily seen it.
Yes.
Okay, no, I don't think I actually was judging.
Yes. 1992, the original film was, starred John Ritter and Pan Dweber in the lead roles. But there's a new take on that as a TV series. And I think it will work well as a TV series because it's from Josh Gad and Andrew Rannells. And it's basically the idea is that they find themselves trapped on the wrong side of a TV screen. So they're forced to survive and navigate their way through TV's most binge-worthy worlds. So in the original film, they had them zapped through things like Wayne's World and Three's Company and a lot of kind of classic TV shows. So in this, you might have them like initially trapped in some form of game show like Wheel of Fortune, or they could be trapped in The Walking Dead or Friends. So there are various places you can go with it of aping other TV series, crime dramas, and that sort of stuff. So I think it's an interesting thing. Josh Gad has been in a number of different things, but is the voice of Olaf in Frozen. It's probably what he's known for. Andrew Reynolds was in Girls and Black Monday. The duo have worked together a number of times on Broadway. They met on the Book of Mormon, and Gutenberg the musical is the thing that had been done more recently. But the Book of Mormon, they played like the two sort of main lead characters in that musical. So they work very well together. I think this sounds like quite a fun sort of idea of jumping through a multiverse of sort of TV shows. I'd be interested to see what they can get the rights to. It will depend on what the other show creators allow them to play with, because with it being at Hulu, does give you the opportunity to go through the Disney toy box and Star Wars and all that sort of stuff.
So I see it's coming from Akiva Goldsman, who did Star Trek. So I don't know, I guess who the studio is. It might be like a CBS studio that would give access to all those procedurals and stuff.
Yeah, the best of both worlds would be if the studio is CBS, but it's for Hulu, and they allow them to dive into the Disney toy box and the CBS toy box, because that will give you access to a whole bunch of CBS shows and Star Trek and all that sort of stuff, but also potentially give you access to all the Disney stuff as well, which would be quite interesting if they could do that. But yeah, from Akiva Goldsman, who worked on Star Trek Strange New Worlds and Beautiful Mind, and Jordan Kahn, who worked on Black Monday. So those are the people that are behind it, along with Gad and Reynolds as well. Yeah, I think this sounds quite interesting. It's in development at the moment, so there is entirely possible that it won't go to series and Hulu decide not to pick it up. But I think it certainly has potential, that one. But it's based on Stay Tuned. It's a film from 1992, I think, how it was the original one. So I'm pretty sure you can find that streaming somewhere. So that's all the news we've got from this week. Just some highlights for next week coming up. So, highlights for next week. We have Platonic Season 2 coming to Apple TV on the 6th of August. That will land. That is former party pals Will and Sylvia navigate midlife chaos, careers, and complicated relationships while clinging on to their not-so-simple friendship. Wednesday returns for part 1 of Season 2. That is on the 6th of August. That will be back on Netflix. Then the FBI start to return. So, the main FBI Season 7 turns up on Sky Witness on the 7th of August at 9 p.m. and FBI International follows that, Season 4 on 7th of August at 10 p.m. Most Wanted, you'll have to wait a little bit for. It is coming the week after. Before we get to that, we've got Outlander Blood of My Blood, which I mentioned earlier. This is the Outlander prequel series, which follows the parents of Jamie and Claire, and much more time-traveling shenanigans going on there as well. But that's coming to MGM Plus on the 9th of August. An older show for you, Krypton. Season 1 and 2 of that lands on ITVX on the 10th of August, if you want to go and catch up with that. Ridley, Adrian Dunbar's other show, Outside Line of Duty, that lands for its second season. That's on ITV on the 10th of August. FBI Most Wanted Season 6, that lands on Sky Witness on the 12th of August at 10 p.m. And Resident Alien returns for its fourth and sadly final season. That's on Sky Max on the 12th of August at 9 p.m. That will be back. That's everything for this week. There's some interesting stuff on there. I will be watching the Outlander prequel, and maybe I need to catch up a bit with Resident Alien, but I do want to catch up with that as well. So some good stuff there, I think.
Hey, come on, Scott.
Yes.
The wait blowing up.
Yes, you have waited a while for Wednesday. They are, like I say, cutting that season into a couple of parts. Part 1 of season 2. Yeah.
Nothing to be done.
Yes. So that's everything coming up over the next week. If people want to find you in the meantime, where can they find you?
They can head over to HollywoodNorthNews.net for TV and film news from Canada. And the next thing that'll be going up will likely be my report into Witch Bomb. So you can look forward to that with loads of pictures and my thoughts on Witch Bomb's last event.
Excellent. So yes, go and check Darryl out at HollywoodNorthNews.net. And for other people involved in the show, Domingos, you can find over at HollywoodNewsSource.com for all his TV and film articles and interviews. And Matt, of course, you can find at entertainmenttalk.org for lots and lots more podcasts. For us, you can visit the website at geektown.co.uk throughout the week and see all the latest air date information. If you want to get in touch with your questions or comments, email us on podcast@geektown.co.uk. Leave a message on the website page. Find us at Geektown on Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Geektown, YouTube at youtube.com/Geektown, Blue Sky at Geektown, Instagram at Geektown UK, TikTok at Geektown UK, and Threads at Geektown UK. That is everything. We shall see you next week. Goodbye.
Wow.